COVID-19 or coronavirus has significantly disrupted day-to-day life for everyone. The UK government has been forced to place restrictions on our daily movements, and these are likely to remain in place for some considerable time. The Construction Leadership Council has developed site operating procedures to introduce consistent measures on sites in line with the government's recommendations on social distancing. This means we have introduced changes in the way we work to protect workers and minimise the risk of spread of infection. These guidelines cover 5 key areas: travel to and from site, welfare, working on site, logistics, and meetings and briefings. Let's look at each of those in a little more detail. Wherever possible, you should travel to and from site alone, using your own transport such as personal cars or bikes and avoiding public transport. If you have to use public transport, look to travel at off-peak times. If you have no option but to share transport, then journeys should be shared with the same individuals and with the minimum number of people at any one time. Wherever possible, maintain a distance of 2 meters and avoid touching your face. Maintain good ventilation by keeping the windows open and face away from each other. The vehicle should be cleaned regularly using gloves and standard cleaning products, with particular emphasis on handles and other areas where passengers may touch surfaces. Wash your hands for 20 seconds using soap and water if available, or hand sanitizer before entering and after getting out of the vehicle. The government has stated that you must stay at home and isolate if you are a vulnerable person, 70 years or older, have an underlying health condition, a clinical condition, or are pregnant, living with someone in self-isolation, or living with a vulnerable person, have a high temperature or a new persistent cough. Screening will be carried out at site entrances and briefings to identify symptoms to prevent risk to others on site, so don't go to site if you have symptoms. If you fall ill on site, return home immediately and notify a manager. Avoid touching anything and cough or sneeze into a tissue and put it in a bin, or sneeze or cough into the crook of your elbow. There are hand cleaning facilities at the entrance and exits to all sites. Make sure you use them upon entering or leaving. Ensure you wash your hands before and after using welfare facilities. Enhanced cleaning regimes are in place. Make sure you treat the welfare facilities with respect. Shift and break times will be staggered to reduce congestion. Make sure you know your allocated time for changing and using the canteens. Bring pre-prepared meals and refillable drinking bottles from home as a priority. Sit 2 meters apart from each other whilst eating and avoid all contact. All rubbish should be put in the bin and not left for someone else to clear up. We are operating a 4-stage safety process to working on site. These are eliminate, reduce, isolate and control. Workers should maintain at least 2 meters distancing while working. Plan work to minimise contact between workers and avoid skin-to-skin or face-to-face contact. Use alternative or additional mechanical aids to reduce worker contact. Minimise the frequency, time and number of people involved in the task. Work side by side or facing away from each other rather than face to face. Increase ventilation in enclosed spaces. Wash your hands before and after using equipment. Regularly clean common touch points, doors, buttons, handles, vehicle cabs, tools, equipment, etc. Groups of workers that have to work within 2 meters must work together in teams and not change workers within those teams. Keep teams as small as possible and work away from other workers wherever possible. Where face-to-face working is essential to carry out a task when working within 2 meters, keep this to 15 minutes or less where possible. A permit to work for these activities is in place. Compliance will be monitored and managed. PPE will be used as a final means of protection and is not a substitute for following the 2 meter distancing rule. Reusable personal protective equipment should be thoroughly cleaned after use and not shared between workers. Single-use PPE should be disposed of so that it cannot be reused. These measures are necessary to minimise the risk of spread of infection, and they rely on everyone taking responsibility for their actions and behaviours. We encourage open discussions to address any issues you may have. The primary responsibility is always to preserve life, and first aid should be administered if required and until the emergency services attend. Emergency plans and resources will be kept up to date. Whilst moving around site, allow plenty of space, at least 2 metres, between people at entrances and exits and along walkways. Consider passing points to let people pass. Avoid stopping and chatting to others on walkways. Stairs should be used in preference to lifts or hoists. Delivery drivers will be expected to remain in their vehicles if the load will allow it, and must wash or clean their hands before unloading goods and materials. Meetings should only now be held and attended if they are absolutely necessary. During meetings, attendees should remain 2 metres apart from each other. Consider holding meetings in open areas where possible, and if they must be held in a room, keep it well ventilated and/or windows open to allow fresh air to circulate. If in doubt, do not take risks, and remember, do not work if you have any symptoms. Your health and safety and that of your colleagues is our #1 priority, and should be yours too.